Hey guys, let's get right into the energy of this weekend. I hope everyone is doing all right out there. We are, of course, in the midst of some very intense energy that we've had playing out. We had our total solar eclipse, which was also our new moon in Aries that happened on Monday. And then on Wednesday, we had a real powerful Mars-Saturn conjunction. This is a very heavy vibe. If you feel sort of like you've had the life sucked out of you in some type of way over the past couple days or moving through the weekend, that really is just generally like kind of the vibe that this energy can bring. And things might get a little weird as we move through the weekend this weekend. We've got a Gemini moon playing out the majority of the weekend that's going to be activating Mercury, currently retrograde right now in the sign of Aries, who's in a conjunction to the sun, who's in a conjunction to Chiron. There could be some like hurt feelings or some like old wounds that are coming up somehow. People are also likely to be like hypercritical, like verbal conflict, projection going on as well. You know, mental health issues could really be a thing that people are struggling with and that are coming up in the energy of this weekend. Moving into Sunday, the moon will enter the sign of Cancer and begin squaring the nodes of the moon and the eclipse point where we had our eclipse this past Monday, which will reactivate that eclipse energy. And we just generally have a lot to talk about, you guys, as we move into the energy of next week, which is, of course, this crazy week hosting another big celestial event, Jupiter and Uranus coming into exact alignment together. So if things seem weird this weekend, if they seem a bit weird generally right now, that sentiment is likely to expand as we move forward over the course of the next week or so. So they're going to get even weirder, you guys. Let's get into it. Let's talk about how everything is coming together for us this weekend. What perhaps we can expect as we move through the weekend and prepare to hit next week again, which is going to be probably just like all over the place. Welcome back to my channel, you guys. Today is Friday, April 12th, 2024. My name is Aubrey. This is your astrological outlook of the weekend where we're narrating the shift of the ages. In this video, we're going to talk about the energy, the astrology, what's happening out there in our energetic field Friday the 12th through Sunday the 14th as, you know, we prepare to move into this next week, this third week of April, which is, where a lot of big changes, a lot of action might be happening. Things that feel like they have been pushing towards their breaking point are likely to snap off coming up here in this energy of the week that's coming towards us now. But this weekend, we have a Gemini moon playing out most of the weekend. And on Sunday, the moon will actually enter Cancer, shifting the vibe a little bit. But, you know, at least Friday and Saturday, things are probably going to be a bit all over the place. This could be a very chaotic energy moving into Sunday. There could be kind of like this inner insecurity that we're dealing with. People like struggling, okay, with like a lack of inner peace, a lack of inner comfort, a lack of like inner security and not really knowing what to do with it. And so we'll talk about that too as we move through the report and how it might be manifesting, and of course how all of this is likely to play into what is coming up next week in our big like wild ride energy. Jupiter and Uranus are going to come into a conjunction on the 16th, same degree. On the 20th, they will have their Cazimi, meaning they will come to the exact, to the minute alignment in the sky. But really, you know, the energy from, you know, the 15th, when we start next week, all the way through, I think it was the 21st, like every day this following week, we are primed for some type of craziness to be going on. And of course, I will be talking about it, you guys, as we narrate the shift of the ages on a day-to-day basis. Next week, talk about this energy as it's playing out in real time. But, you know, as we're moving through this weekend, I feel like things are just probably generally a bit weird, generally a bit chaotic. There's probably this like growing generalized sentiment that something's about to happen. Like I can feel it in the air. The sense of electricity in the air could be quite strong, and also simultaneously this like feeling of things perhaps like coming to a head, coming to a breaking point, like reaching their maximum capacity for something. Okay. And there's also, it's very interesting how the energy of this Jupiter Uranus alignment is playing out when it's playing out, because it's actually being accompanied by like a near exact Mars black moon opposition, which means that like a lot of people are going to be facing some type of fear in the context of whatever big shift or big change or major awakening, shock factor, something plays out as this energy comes in next week. And we're also like, we have to remember also, we are in some real strong Mercury retrograde energy right now. And Mercury retrograde in the sign of Aries, this is like fog of war type of energy. We don't want to just jump into things. Like, we are not seeing a lot of things clearly. And this is amplified in the energy this weekend as we move forward into whatever's coming next week because of the Gemini moon this weekend. When we have a moon in Gemini, this is really putting an energetic emphasis on whatever the planet Mercury is doing, because Mercury is the ruling planet of the sign of Gemini. So Gemini moon highlights Mercury all weekend while simultaneously squaring the Piscean planets. So the moon in Gemini is going to be squaring both Mars and Saturn in their conjunction in Pisces on Friday. And then on Saturday, we'll be squaring Neptune in Pisces, while the ruler of Gemini, Mercury, is retrograde right now in Aries, in a conjunction to the sun and in a conjunction to Chiron as well. People, as I said, are probably going to be acting real weird. This is a result of like the Piscean Gemini square going on, and Mercury being retrograde, also saying weird things, nothing making sense, no one knows what they're talking about, miscommunications, misunderstandings. We are primed for that type of thing this weekend. Plans and schedules being all over the place, like people getting dates and times wrong and stuff like that, and changing plans at the last minute as well. As I was saying, the more adaptable that we can be moving through the weekend, the better for our mental health, which that's another thing, I think I've said it a couple times so far, is probably going to be a theme this weekend, either like on a collective level, like what we're reading about in terms of, the collective mental health of something somehow, or just in terms of like our own experience, or, people that we're dealing with maybe struggling with some mental health issues, or there just being a greater focus or prominence somehow on mental health and healing. Okay. Illness, health, healing. These things are all highlighted in the energy this weekend because of the Virgo Pisces axis and just kind of like the way that things are coming together right now, and also the Gemini moon. And we'll talk about that. Okay. But health and healing, Chiron, also Mercury and Chiron being there, could be something that is just like on people's minds, or that are a larger part of the conversation, the collective conversation somehow. Also, like I was saying earlier, like people are probably going to be going at each other's throats for various reasons. Prime time, like verbal conflict, dispute, argument, disagreement, debate type of energy, clashes of wills, ideas about what should happen. There's the conflict, a lot of the conflict is likely to be stemming around or coming from disagreements over what to do about things, how to act, like the actions that need to be taken, or mistakes that have been made, things that have been done, kind of like hashing it out and coming back around because of the Aries vibe, Aries being, Mars being action, and, Mars also in a conjunction to Saturn. This is really going to like limit our ability to make any type of progress, to make anything happen, because Saturn limits things, it constricts things, it restricts things, it holds them back. So it's going to be really hard to make anything productive happen in this energy. And also we've got, as I mentioned, sort of like the fog of war type of vibes. No one really knows what's happening, what's going on. Not a good time to choose, not a good time to decide or take any type of significant or serious action if it's not something that like needs to be done. Hurt feelings, like I said, could also be what's coming up, and that's of course because we're talking about a Gemini moon ruling our feelings, right? But Mercury, the ruler of the ruler of Gemini in Aries, which is the sign of the battlefield, and also with Chiron, this is wounding. So there could be some, things that we're saying or things that people are saying to us that are just kind of like coming out that are, you know, real painful and cause some type of wound or lasting effect. Or we could, again, be like going over things from the past, like things that people have said to us or where we've been wounded in the past, like rethinking it. But it could also be coming up in the context of like how we are healing from that right now as well. So could be rehashing old wounds, could be thinking about and talking about where we've been hurt, but also how to heal and how to move on. This is just as strong of a opportunity for us right now is getting lost in our own states of victimhood and our own prior woundings, is discovering, you know, the wisdom that we need in order to heal and to release ourselves from those very things right now as well. And then, you know, as I said, mental health. We've got the Gemini moon with Mercury retrograde in Aries. Aries is also about the head, has a lot to do with the head, and Gemini, of course, is the mind. And then Chiron, this is health and healing. So mental health could be taking center stage in some type of a way, how it's impacting what is happening in our lives and in the world. Probably a real busy weekend though, you guys, with the emphasis on the Gemini Mercury energy, and Mercury in Aries. This is a lot of like fast-paced action, like things happening quickly, lots going on, places to be, things to do in the midst of, you know, perhaps this generalized chaos and lack of coherentness that is also playing out. Hard time focusing, lots of distractions, trying to maintain like the logical linear thought streams is probably quite a challenge in this energy. But we do want to try to slow down. We don't want to rush if we can help it. Everybody's probably going to be rushing. This is like a need for speed, okay? This is like a need for speed, a need to get ahead, like not thinking before we act, very spontaneous, impulsive behavior, no one really paying attention. Be real careful driving especially, and try your best, you know, no one's going to be doing it, but if you can pay attention to details, if you can like listen to what other people are saying, like actively try to pay attention when people are explaining things. Here's the thing, right? No one is probably going to be paying attention. No one's really going to know what's going on. People are just going to be like saying whatever comes out of their mouth. Everybody's just going to be like rushing to get ahead. But the thing is, you know, if we can be more observant in this energy, if we can sort of just stand on the sidelines and not get engaged in that like, you know, that like whirlwind type of vibe, there is actually, I think, a lot of information to be gained. Like perhaps some very intriguing and interesting revelations could come from people as, you know, this energy is playing out. So you could learn a lot, you guys. You could learn a lot through observation and the way that people are acting and behaving as we move through this energy. So, you know, the more that we can be passive observers, I feel like the greater awareness we do have the opportunity to gain in this generalized state that is probably going to be lacking quite a bit of awareness. So, you know, watch what you say, okay? Also, conflict with authority could be an issue on Friday. You know, maybe you need to bite your tongue a little bit. We don't want to self-sabotage. A lot of this is going to be self-sabotaging behavior that people are engaging in, but it's not purposeless, you know, like it is ultimately, we've got the Chiron element there. So any mistakes, okay, any missteps, any, you know, wounding or, you know, suffering that is caused or inflicted in this energy will be purposeful, in that eventually, like, it's going to lead to a greater form of enlightenment that will help us to shift out of certain patterns that we may have been ingrained with or in for long periods of time. So, you know, ultimately everything happening right now, highly fated, destined times, and we could be feeling limited. We could be feeling very restricted in our movement, in our action, in our personal expression as well, with the Gemini moon, Mercury, Aries, retrograde, Mars, Saturn conjunction, probably a sense of internalized irritation, frustration, perhaps even a sense of like crushing overwhelm could be something that we're really dealing with, especially on Friday. Burnout could be a big thing as well. Maxed out, totally drained. Again, as I was saying, kind of like feeling a bit lifeless. That's what Mars and Saturn together can just have a tendency of doing sometimes, because again, Saturn represses, Saturn limits, especially in the sign of Pisces, which is, a draining, it can be a more draining energy as well for the Mars frequency. So our vitality and our energy levels could really be kind of like on the floor as we move through the weekend. It is a good weekend to just take a time out if you need it. Don't, involve yourself where you don't need to be involved. Largely, like, other people's opinions should be irrelevant to you throughout the course of the weekend, especially if it's bringing you down, weighing you down in some type of a way. A good way to use the energy this weekend really is to do small but productive things that are making your life easier. I'm telling you, everything is probably going to just generally be a bit more challenging in this energy, like even the small things. So don't do anything that is super important. Don't set the bar or your expectations for yourself too high. A lot of things are going to need to be corrected that are done now or that go on now. But like these small, simple, practical jobs or tasks that can move us towards a goal, help to ultimately make things easier for us somehow, but are not like super imperative that we get it exactly right. This is a good way to use our time, to use our energy this weekend. Yard work, cleaning, washing the windows, washing the car, doing laundry, like things like that, like things that you can't really mess up too much, but that it would be nice to just have crossed off your list, that don't take like a tremendous amount of energy, but will make things easier for you going forward somehow. Not the best for any type of like planning or organizing or mental activity. We're just kind of like not all there on a mental level. Very distracting energy. Like I said, easy to make mistakes in terms of the things that we're doing. So small, simple, practical, meaningful ways to be productive. This is probably where we're going to find the most success in our efforts this weekend. Moving, from Friday into Saturday, we could feel honestly, more of this like zapped energy. Like there is just not much in the tank. The moon in Gemini will be squaring Neptune in Pisces. This is very draining energy as well, especially with also, again, the Mars-Saturn conjunction. Could feel tired, and Mercury retrograde also with Chiron, like feelings of doubt, depression, overwhelm, confusion, disorientation, brain fog, feeling mentally or emotionally caught in the past somehow, caught up in something, looking back, feeling like we need to rehash something, fantasizing, daydreaming, a desire to escape reality could be very strong. Escapism generally this weekend, especially Saturday and Sunday. A good day to just sort of let things be, you guys, not get involved. Take a nap if you really just can't handle reality anymore in the energy on Saturday. Don't try to see, don't force yourself to understand, don't force, a meeting of the minds somehow with somebody, because it's likely just going to lead to more conflict, more confusion. We've got this fog of war, mass hysteria, mass hypnosis, mass confusion type of vibe on Saturday with the Neptune moon square, and no one knows what is happening still. So, just working on the small things that are not that important, but that can help you in practical ways moving into next week. Again, when we, that's the best way we can really, I feel like, set ourselves up for success moving into the energy of next week, because things are likely to be so all over the place. Plans are going to be changing. It's a super expect the unexpected week. So if we can just go ahead and get like some small chores, small tasks, less significant yet helpful things done this weekend, we are helping to set ourselves up for a successful experience with the energy coming next week. And just don't expect anything to make sense related to the external world, related to other people, staying in our own bubble and, focusing on improving things in any way that we can. This is the vibe that is probably going to benefit us on Saturday. Moving into Sunday the 14th, this is going to reactivate the solar eclipse that we had on the 8th, because the moon will be in Cancer and will square the nodes of the moon and will square the eclipse point. With Jupiter and Uranus also now so close, this could definitely be indicating some changing circumstances that are starting to happen, starting to play out, that may be triggering feeling, you know, some type of insecurity, upsetting comfort zones. I'm saying that because we've got this Cancer moon, which is all about our sense of internal security and our comfort zone, feeling safe, feeling secure in our environment, with the moon in Cancer squaring the nodes in Aries and Libra and the eclipse point. This could be experiencing a little bit of insecurity, instability, and then of course, considering that we are also moving now very closely towards the exact alignment of Jupiter and Uranus in Taurus, this is also, you know, shaking foundations and upsetting comfort zones to some extent. So we could be feeling that way in the energy coming through on Sunday. And the moon in Cancer will also trine Mars and Saturn together in Pisces. Escapism tendencies, the desire to hide from the challenges that we're currently facing could be significant. I do think that Sunday, you know, Saturday as well, but especially Sunday, this might be a good day to check on some of your friends or families or neighbors, especially if you know that they are struggling from depression or mental health issues, generally excessive drug and alcohol use, and like suicidal ideations driven by the desire to escape from reality or the pain or the past could be something people are really struggling with in the energy as we move through the weekend. Insecurity and generalized anxiety and anticipation could have people feeling kind of like very shook, ungrounded, off balance, like out of sorts, acting out of character, acting out generally, just like really losing their minds, right? Like that is a very strong vibe that is coming through right now. So, you know, maybe just checking on people, you know, making sure that everyone is in a good place as we're going through the weekend could be helpful or beneficial in some ways. Also having patience and compassion, even with people who are not acting that way towards us, especially like if you are paying attention to the energy right now, if you are following the astrology, as you obviously are, if you're on this channel, if you are at a point of awareness where you know what is going on, it is then your responsibility to be able to have the patience and the discipline within yourself to have a bit more compassion for the people that don't, because, you know, this is a challenging enough time to go through as it is, knowing what we're going through and why, but, you know, to be living through this time right now with no concept of what is happening on the greater energetic levels and, you know, in the greater, you know, course of like time and space and history and everything, and, you know, the big cycles, like to not understand or have any type of grasp of what is happening and why right now at this period of time, and also, you know, not having the desire nor perhaps the aptitude to involve yourself with that type of knowledge, like it is crazy making energy if you don't know what the heck is going on. And so for those of us that do, like, it is our, you know, duty and responsibility not to feed into the crazy and to let people go through their processes and do their while out and do their sparking off or whatever they need to do, because a lot of the actions that are happening right now are happening in such a way that are going to create some type of karmic blowback or some type of, you know, set some type of path or process in place that is eventually going to lead to a greater state of awareness, awakening, or, you know, a tremendous level of growth in some way, even if it might seem, you know, small or insignificant or not happening on the level in comparison to perhaps like, you know, where you are at on your journey right now and like your level of awareness and your level of perception based on the experiences that you've gone through. People, like, this is a karmic time. People are going to get the lessons that they need right now to move to their next phase of awareness and awakening, wherever that might be. Okay, so if someone's on a level 1 right now, they're going to be coming up against something that might put them to a level 1.5. You might be at a level 9, so their little level 1.5 might seem like nothing to you where you're at right now, but in their personal soul evolution, you know, it's just as significant, the lesson that they're learning in the context of this energy right now, as, you know, where you might be like graduating perhaps or being released from a cycle of lessons that you learned in the past. We're all at different phases and places and the levels of conscious awareness as as time is unfolding right now, and we're all being forced essentially to like upgrade to the next state of like our own personal process of conscious awareness and like personal soul evolution and stuff like that. So those of us who do understand this, we need to not feed the demons of the people who are struggling with them in this energy, okay? We need to be the lantern bearers. We need to, through our own example of how we're interacting with the challenges that come through right now, we need to, show other people the way in those regards, okay? People are going to be coming up against a lot of fears, worries, insecurities, and doubts as we move through this period of time as well. This is being reflected to me by the fact that we do have Mars Black Moon opposition, like literally actively facing the shadow, facing the fear, facing that which, we've been hiding from or has been hidden from us, but like having to deal with some part of our own darkness, or facing a level, having to, actively face off against a level of darkness somehow in the world, happening in exact union with the Great Awakening energy, okay? So actively facing fears is going to be and play a role in whatever change or awakening we are on the brink of, and many people are going to try to resist this with like all of their might, also with the Pisces element. Mars is in Pisces, so it's like, if Mars was in another sign, it would be an easier task, okay, to face the fears that we're presented with, or to conquer the shadows that we're presented with when we have a Mars Black Moon opposition going on. But because Mars is in Pisces, like, it is going to require all of our will and all of our strength and all of our courage, but more so like a spiritual motivation of faith, okay? Like acting our faith in the face of our fears. Like, this is how we conquer whatever challenge, whatever, facing of the fears we might find ourselves up against as we do move forward into this Mars-Uranus, or the Uranus-Jupiter energy, Mars Black Moon energy that's coming up this week. Also, this could be bringing up, as I said in the beginning, like health concerns, things to do with healing could be a major part of this. It's being exemplified two ways, both by the Mars Saturn in the sign of Pisces. This is definitely indicating things to do with lowered immunity, could be disease, could be, just illnesses, or also things to do with like drugs or poisons. And then the Chiron influence as well, with Mercury retrograde, Gemini moon all weekend, and this eclipse itself having been an exact conjunction to Chiron. This is also same thing, bringing up issues, with health and wounding and healing. So things to do with disease and healing could be just very, very relevant as we move through this next couple of weeks, as we move through the weekends. And this is just the basic climate that is setting us up for what we're moving into next week, which is off the charts energetically, off the Richter scales, one might say, in terms of the activations that are happening. Collective anxiety and fear is just likely to be in the air, insecurity and confusion, but we don't want to attach to that. A lot of things are not as they seem. A lot of things are not as they appear. In fact, a lot of the like big like upheaval or change or whatever that is likely to come in the energy of next week, it's not set in stone, and actually a lot of it is going to be misinterpreted as it's playing out. And us personally, what do we want to be doing? We still want to keep our focus on our personal goals, on our personal improvement, be aware of what is playing out. We do not want to be hiding from the reality of the things that are happening around us right now, but we also don't want to worry. We don't want to be in this state of fear. Acting our faith, like I said, Mars in Pisces, opposite the Black Moon in Virgo coming up here. There could be a lot of material fears, financial fears, fears of failure on some level that are coming up next week, but we have to act our faith. We have to, be motivated by our pursuit of our highest self on a lot of levels. And again, North Node in the sign of Aries too, like all of that is calling us forward in this new direction. Like it is about up leveling. It is not about falling back into past patterns. It's about conquering our fears. It's about overcoming weaknesses that have held us back in the past. It is about not allowing like our past perception of ourselves or our identity or what we could and couldn't do to hinder or limit who we could become or who we're being called to become, or the changes that we are stepping into as we move through this period of time. So everything's going to be okay. We're not going to attach to the fear. We're not going to attach to the worry. A lot of healing is going to come through with this. If there are health things going on, this actually, of course, health things are always like the scariest things ever, but it's Chiron. So the issues that are coming up, it's so that we can learn how to heal. It's not so that they can just like take us out or wipe us out. It's so that we can gain a level of wisdom that is going to heal us. And it's going to heal us not only physically, it's actually going to heal us energetically, vibrationally, karmically, because Chiron is all about being able to alchemize and transmute wounding into essentially like liberation and Christ consciousness. Okay, so whatever is playing out right now, we need to move through it with the faith that it is making us stronger, that it is making us better, that it is making us more wise, more capable, and it's helping us to rediscover our own value, our own potential, our own power, and our own purpose. This is destiny activating energy. We're being called into a greater destiny than perhaps we had conceived of ourselves, and we've got to get to know ourselves again along those lines. So focusing on the small things this weekend, you guys, that we can do to make things more orderly for ourselves, to make things, a bit less chaotic perhaps in our own little bubble, and practicing non-engagement with the crazy out there. That's my advice. That's what I'm going to say about the energy as we have it coming through this weekend. Let's get a piece of spiritual advice, God, Spirit, Universe. What is something that we should keep in mind? What do we need to know? What will benefit us to use as a mantra as we move through the weekend and this energy unfolds and we head towards everything that's coming at us in the energy of next week? Here's one that flipped over. You can't change another. And again, that's really what it's about. We are all on this independent quest right now. North Node in the sign of Aries. This is our own personal hero's journey to, go through our own process of upgrade on some level, and nobody can do it for us, and we can't do it for anybody else. Leading through example is our best tool for helping others along in this energy. You can't change another. Thou will keep him in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on thee. Isaiah 26:3. In your relationships with others, don't be possessive or try to make them do what you think they should do or act the way that you think they should act, which is, again, that's what a lot of the conflicts are going to be about. What people should do, how people should act. People are going to be hyper controlling also with Mars and Saturn together, using our energy to try to control the actions and the outcomes of others. That is not the vibe right now. The vibe right now is to, if you're trying to show somebody the way, leading through example, letting them get on that train themselves, but not trying to force, not trying to control, not trying to convince, okay? Never permit others to rob you of your peace of mind. Your peace and joy are in God, not in the words or actions of other people. Bless them and walk on. And like I said, also, people are probably going to be at each other's throats, verbal battles, verbal conflict going on. Do not attach to the projections and the opinions and the negativity spouting out of other people that just are dealing with their own internalized issues and don't know how to contain it. Focus on what you can do to make practical improvements in your own bubble and in your own world around you. And we're focusing on our own process of personal growth right now. That's the best thing that we can do in this energy. So that's what I have to say today, you guys, about the energy for the weekend. I hope you liked it. If you did like it, please give me a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, share it with your friends if you also think that they would enjoy this type of astrology content. Leave me comments, you guys. I am so grateful for your presence here. I really value and appreciate knowing what's going on with you out there. If you are having experiences that line up with what I'm talking about in these videos, please let me know in my comment section below. If you want to know what's on this whiteboard, I post images of those in a Facebook group that I have that is linked in my description box. Jana Shellman, the creator of the Synchronicity cards, also posts those in that group if you want a closer look at those. And I'm asking for some extra prayers for Jana right now. She is having some health issues, actually, and we could just use some extra prayers to get her back on her feet sooner than later. So we love you, Jana. Thank you so much for all that you do and for your beautiful synchronicity cards, and praying for the speediest of speedy recoveries for you, which honestly, fast healing. Also, Mercury in the sign of Aries right now with even retrograde, but with Chiron in the sign of Aries. This is a fast recovery, a quick recovery. So praying for that for you, Jana. And I will be back on Monday, you guys. Of course, we're kicking it right off. We got this big week of energy coming up, and I don't know. I'll be back to talk all about it. So you should be here too. You don't want to miss it. I will see you guys next time. Have a really beautiful weekend. Until then, bye guys.